Candace was nothing but kind to me. I was a little bit terrified. I prayed about it and I listened to worship music in the car, and I honestly had a lot of peace about it after. And I wasn't completely sure, but it was I want to say around 10:30 or so the night before, and I genuinely could not sleep because it was all I could think about, what I knew and what was going on. And I had a guilty conscience about it, genuinely. And I decided to send in an email. She got back to me and...
All right, let's break down what went down with Candace and this so-called whistleblower. It's wild. So this woman named Maggie came forward claiming she was supposed to audition for a show that was basically set up to make fun of Candace. The twist? It was allegedly being produced under the same media company Candace had previously worked with, the one owned by Ben Shapiro. Now, things between Candace and Ben have been tense for a while. She says they're watching her. They say she's watching them. It's messy. The whole feud has turned into this digital soap opera where nobody seems ready to back down. According to Maggie, the company still owns the rights to Candace's old show and allegedly wanted to use her face and image for their new project. That's where the drama explodes. Because legally, that's a gray area. You can practically feel the tension about who owns what and how far those contracts really go. But here's the part that really got people talking. Maggie said no to the money offer. She turned it down, choosing her principles over a paycheck. That's rare these days. Instead, she decided to take control of her own voice and launched her own podcast. Smart move. She's making her own lane, owning her own work, and staying true to herself while the others keep throwing digital punches. Good for her, seriously. She came out strong, exposed what she said about Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, and even got a surprising message from Candace herself. Maggie said she was shocked Candace reached out, but honestly, I'm not. People tend to be friendly when it benefits them, right? The real test of character is how someone acts when there's nothing to gain. And honestly, Maggie comes across like she could star in one of those cozy holiday commercials. Bright smile, warm energy, total natural on camera. Plus, her voice, smooth and confident. She could easily make it in voiceover work. She's not naive either. She's just sharing what she experienced straight up.
She was so incredibly kind to me. And it's just so crazy to me because I always expect people that are these like empire of human beings to not really care about the little people. I've never met someone that is this huge that was so kind. I mean, it was ridiculous how kind and welcoming she was to me and how much she cared about making sure she had my back. I just want to say to Candace, thank you so much.
Now, here's where things get interesting. Candace has a pattern. When you're on her good side, she'll support you. But once you start questioning her, she's known to turn cold real quick. And to be fair, she's been through a lot. She's been targeted and criticized from every angle, so she's always on guard. I can respect that kind of resilience. I just hope she starts showing that same grace toward others who question her. Not everything's an attack. And then, the biggest storm of all, her obsession with trying to figure out what really happened to Charlie Kirk. That whole situation was heartbreaking to watch. It shocked millions online and left everyone searching for answers. Was it just one disturbed person acting out, or something more complicated behind the scenes? People have theories, but what's clear is that everyone's still trying to make sense of something that shook them deeply. We really don't know the full truth yet. The suspect, Jack Robinson, is still awaiting trial. And until everything plays out in court, nobody can say for sure what really happened. What we do know is that Candace Owens recently shared one of Charlie Kirk's old posts. The one where he questioned certain U.S. actions overseas, including comments about Iran and Senator Lindsey Graham. Charlie had spoken out against what he called war hawk behavior, people who seem eager for conflict and higher military spending. He questioned why the focus always shifts toward global issues while major struggles continue at home. That message hit a nerve, especially because he wasn't afraid to challenge powerful narratives about war and foreign involvement. He talked about how the country often pushes for democracy abroad while struggling with huge problems at home, things like healthcare costs and people struggling just to afford their medication. He said that before fixing other nations, we should fix our own. That message stuck with people because it sounded like common sense. So now when people look back at what he said, they wonder, was it just coincidence that someone so vocal about peace and accountability ended up gone in such a public, shocking way? Maybe it was random, maybe not. Nobody knows. But asking questions isn't wrong. It's human nature to want answers, especially when something this heartbreaking leaves the world searching for meaning. Now here's where things take a strange turn. Stephen A. Smith accidentally went viral after a little slip of the tongue. He meant to mention football player Christian Kirk, but instead said Charlie Kirk. Just a quick mix-up, but people online ran wild with it.
We want to go all in and take out the regime. Time for us to close the chapter on the Iranian Ayatollah and his henchmen and start a new chapter in the Middle East. And that sounds good, doesn't it? But what have we learned when it comes to wars, and especially wars in the Middle East?
That we don't
What
win.
you draw up on a whiteboard rarely happens.
Then things got even more surreal. Candace Owens shared something deeply personal about a dream she had. In it, she said Charlie appeared to her saying he didn't have much time and that there were hidden truths about what really happened. She even said she believed his soul might be unsettled and that someone knew more than they were saying. Heavy stuff. Now, of course, you can't take dreams as evidence. No one's bringing that to court. But still, people found it fascinating. Was it just her mind processing emotions or something deeper? Dreams often pull from our subconscious, so when something weighs on your thoughts all day, it's no surprise when it shows up while you're asleep. Some think dreams might connect us to something beyond what we understand. Others say it's just our brains sorting through memories. Either way, it shows how much this situation is still living in people's minds, especially for Candace. She's sharing openly, being raw about what she feels and sees, and that kind of honesty keeps audiences hooked. And let's be real, she's a podcaster now, not a reporter on network news. She's sharing her thoughts, her experiences, and her dreams, leaving it up to the audience to interpret what it all means. As long as people remember to separate opinions from facts, there's no harm in her being open about it. And so yeah, dream on, Candace. Talk it out, share what's on your heart, and maybe, just maybe, those dreams will bring some peace to everything that's still unresolved. A source claims the Thursday episode of Corrosive has been shelved, and the new episode that was supposed to air next week got bumped up instead. It's rough news for any actors who were counting on that episode to be their big break, especially now that the show's lead is reportedly under serious investigation. Details are scarce, but there's a manhunt underway, and it sounds like authorities are determined to track him down soon. Meanwhile, a new political storm is brewing. The Clintons just released a long statement online, nearly 5 pages, and it's blowing up everywhere. In short, they say this isn't about politics, it's about doing what's right. But what's getting attention is their decision not to comply with a subpoena requesting more information.
The setting of this particular dream, however, had one dramatic difference. We were not there for the opening of the embassy. And this difference, by the way, I don't really understand yet. I'm just sharing it with you. Instead, we were there in this dream setting for Bibi Netanyahu's wife's funeral.
Critics are calling it suspicious, while others argue it's just a legal move to protect privacy and avoid political chaos. At the same time, Bill Clinton didn't hold back in his message, saying that the country needs leadership focused on unity and lawmaking, not division. He warned that America's foundations have been built over centuries and shouldn't be torn apart by partisanship or reckless decisions. It's a rare moment where a former president steps back into the spotlight with such direct words. Now, there's a mix of truth in everything. Yes, the system feels strained, and yes, people in power should answer fair questions if there's nothing to hide. The issue still lingers in public conversation, and transparency could help close that chapter once and for all. But a lot of what's being tossed around online is also pure noise, exaggerated claims, political games, and endless spin. And just when things couldn't get stranger, international headlines blew up. France's President Emmanuel Macron made comments rejecting an old proposal about Greenland. Apparently, the whole discussion sparked fresh debates about global security, alliances, and how world powers react to U.S. leadership. Even some Scandinavian countries are reportedly rethinking their defense strategies amid rising tension worldwide. It's a wild time out there. Politics, power, and pressure colliding from every direction. Everyone's watching to see who speaks next and who finally brings some clarity to all this chaos. The fallout from everything that's happened hasn't stopped. If anything, it's only getting more intense. Between the controversy over the Clinton statement, Candace Owens' emotional dreams, and the ongoing mystery surrounding Charlie Kirk's tragic end, the internet has turned into one massive echo chamber of theories, reactions, and finger-pointing. Everyone seems to have their version of the truth, but no one can fully prove anything. That's what makes this story so gripping. It's a perfect storm of politics, media, and human emotion colliding all at once. Let's start with the bigger picture.
Again, that makes entirely no sense. I've never met his wife. I've never spoken about his wife. I know nothing about his wife. So that's just the context of it. I don't make the rules of dream world. And obviously, as we were sitting there, it didn't strike me as weird because when you're in your dream state, everything that happens for some reason feels like, oh yeah, this is totally normal. Anyway, Charlie said to me, I don't have much time. He followed that up explaining to me that I needed to see what happened on his left. And he told me explicitly, they betrayed me, multiple people. And I said, I know, but who? Then came the frustrating part of the dream. every time I would say who, you know, when you're in a dream and you go who, or you try to speak in the dream, and then suddenly you're actually speaking in real life and you start to wake yourself up from the dream by act.
Candace has been at the center of this storm ever since she started questioning whether something deeper happened to Charlie. Her dream might sound strange to some, but to her it was real, vivid, and emotional. She felt like Charlie was reaching out from somewhere beyond, and while skeptics brushed it off as imagination, her supporters called it a spiritual connection. Either way, it stirred people's emotions because it tapped into something universal. That lingering hope that those we lose might still find a way to speak to us. But dreams aren't evidence, and that's where her critics pounced. They accused her of stirring emotions without facts, of turning a tragedy into content. Others defended her, saying she's just processing grief publicly like millions do online every day. Whatever the case, Candace has kept talking, and that's exactly why she stays relevant. People may disagree with her, but they still tune in because she's unpredictable, unfiltered, and always ready to say what others won't. At the same time, there's this growing pressure around those secret-related files. It's like a ghost haunting every major political figure tied to that era. No matter how much time passes, the internet refuses to let it go. The Clintons' refusal to comply with the subpoena only made things louder, not quieter. Critics say it looks suspicious, while defenders insist it's just politics as usual. Everyone protecting themselves in a system built on careful language and calculated moves. And the public? They're tired of half answers. People don't want polished statements. They want accountability. Then there's the global stage. World leaders weighing in, tensions rising, alliances shifting. Macron's reaction about Greenland might sound random, but it's symbolic. It shows how the world is repositioning itself. Not just militarily, but morally. Countries are picking sides, preparing for the next era of power politics, and doing whatever it takes to protect their interests. You can feel the unease, the sense that something big is coming, something that might reshape how nations trust each other. Meanwhile, the conversation back home keeps looping back to one person, Charlie Kirk. What happened to him still doesn't sit right with a lot of people.
And whenever I would try to listen to what he was saying, it sounded like he was underwater. So I was frustrated by this. I can't get to the part where you tell me who betrayed you. It wasn't until the third week after his death that finally one face came through in this dream. It came through as clear as day from around the corner of the restaurant. And it was Andrew Colvet's.
The official story says one thing, but the way it unfolded, live, shocking, and almost cinematic, made it impossible for the internet to move on. It wasn't just another headline, it was something people watched in real time, something that burned itself into the collective memory. That's why emotions are still high. When tragedy plays out in front of millions, it doesn't just end with the news cycle, it lingers, twisting through social feeds, reshared clips, and endless what-ifs. Candace's decision to tie Charlie's death to deeper motives made her both a target and a symbol. Some call her brave for questioning the narrative. Others say she's reckless for adding fuel to something so sensitive. But one thing's certain, she's not backing down. Every podcast, every post, every public moment, she's leaning into the controversy. Whether she's uncovering something real or simply chasing conviction, she's positioned herself right in the middle of the storm. And that's exactly where she seems to thrive. But let's not pretend she's alone in this chaos. The media landscape has shifted so much that independent creators now control the conversation. It's not about waiting for traditional networks to verify. It's about who tells the most compelling version of events first. That's how narratives spread, how opinions form, how entire communities unite under shared beliefs or tear each other apart. In a world where every voice can go viral, truth becomes a matter of perspective. And then there's the emotional toll. All these stories about betrayal, secrecy, justice, and loss hit differently because they blend public drama with private pain. The idea that someone might be hiding what really happened isn't just about one case, it's about the loss of trust people feel toward institutions in general. Whether it's government agencies, big media, or celebrity figures, people don't know who to believe anymore. That's why conspiracy theories thrive. Not because people want to believe wild ideas, but because they're desperate for honesty and connection in a world that keeps letting them down. If you look closely, you can see this story as more than gossip. It's a mirror showing how modern society processes grief, suspicion, and faith in the age of the internet.
Now you have to imagine, in the immediate aftermath of this, I was not thinking Turning Point USA. Where we're at today is almost like unimaginable going back there. In fact, I was very friendly with Andrew Colvet. We had spoken extensively in the aftermath of Charlie's death. I've known him for years, and I felt really weird about having seen him in this dream, but it was so vivid and it was so compelling that I felt that, as weird and as odd as it was, that I had to text him and tell him what I saw. And this is the text.
Candace's dreams, the political silence, the legal drama, they're all pieces of a bigger puzzle. It's not just about one event, it's about how we react when the truth feels just out of reach. And while everyone debates online, real lives are still affected, families still grieve, supporters still rally, critics still shout. The manhunt mentioned earlier, the legal battles, the political fallout, and they all continue quietly behind the noise. But eventually the headlines will fade, and what's left will be how people remember the way it all felt. Confusing, emotional, raw. Maybe one day new information will come out that explains everything. Maybe the truth is simpler than anyone imagines, or maybe it's buried under so much spin that it'll take years to untangle. Until then, people will keep watching, questioning, and hoping for clarity. Because that's the strange beauty of this era. Everything happens in public now. Pain, belief, justice, even dreams, all broadcast, analyzed, and immortalized online. Candace knows that, and she's using it. Whether you love her or not, she's tapped into something powerful, the modern hunger for answers in a world that gives us endless noise instead. And so the story continues, one post, one reaction, one heated debate at a time. The truth may still be out there, but until it's found, everyone's chasing their own version of it, hoping the next revelation finally connects the dots. And when that moment comes, it won't just be about Charlie or Candace. It'll be about all of us, and how far we've gone trying to make sense of a world where truth feels like the hardest thing to hold on to. The story didn't fade, it only grew louder. What started as a debate about Candace's dreams and Charlie's final days has now transformed into a cultural storm that touches politics, influence, loyalty, and the power of narrative. The internet has turned it into a never-ending loop of clips, reactions, breakdowns, and emotional takes. And every day someone finds a new angle to dig into. It's wild how quickly this situation evolved from one woman's questions into a global obsession with what might really be hiding behind the curtain.
Sharing with you so you guys know if this all really happened. I said I rarely have vivid dreams, but I had one clear as day because we know much more. Then you fast forward today and we learn that it's been Andrew Cole that orchestrating all of these attacks actually got caught red-handed. It's sort of ridiculous that I didn't just assume that earlier. But like I said, that's not where my brain went in the aftermath of Charlie's assassination. I thought, these are good guys who loved Charlie Kirk.
Candace continues to fuel the fire, intentionally or not. Every post she makes now becomes a headline. Not because it's shocking on its own, but because it feeds a bigger idea people are clinging to, that something just doesn't add up. She's been criticized for blurring the line between investigation and speculation. But in today's media world, that line barely exists anymore. When followers see sincerity, they don't wait for proof. They just believe. That's the reality of influence in the digital age. Emotion spreads faster than evidence. Now, behind all this noise, more strange details keep popping up. Some of Charlie's old interviews are resurfacing, where he talked about feeling drained, like he was constantly being pulled in multiple directions. People are rewatching those clips, slowing them down, studying his expressions, claiming he looked uneasy. Whether that's true or not, the perception alone is powerful. Once the internet decides something looks off, it takes on a life of its own. Context fades, emotion replaces logic, and soon millions of people feel like they know the truth even if they don't. Meanwhile, Candace's critics are pushing back hard. They say she's weaponizing tragedy to rebuild her personal brand, that every exclusive insight or spiritual experience becomes part of a larger storyline meant to keep her at the center of attention. Others defend her fiercely, saying she's one of the few people with enough courage to ask questions that mainstream outlets won't touch. That's the split now. Half the internet sees her as brave, half sees her as reckless. But either way, everyone's watching. And this is what makes the whole thing so fascinating. It's no longer about what happened, but how we talk about what happened. The narrative is the new battlefield. Social media algorithms don't reward truth, they reward engagement. So when something controversial breaks out, it doesn't matter if it's accurate. What matters is how many people feel something when they hear it. Fear, outrage, curiosity, sadness, it all drives attention.
The situation in Greenland is clearly a wake-up call for all the Europeans. And let me tell you very directly that you are not alone. And when a strategic message is sent to you, I want just for you to know that it's clearly perceived by the Europeans as targeting a European land. And this flag you have here is our common flag, and we know our common values, and we know our long-standing choices. And this is why it's very important for French people and all the European people to convey very clearly this message of solidarity and the fact that we stand.
That's the real economy now, and Candace is playing that game like a pro, even if she doesn't admit it. As for the political side, it's become almost impossible to separate from the personal. The Clintons' refusal to comply with that subpoena added fuel to long-standing suspicions about who's protecting what and why. People are connecting dots that may not exist, building entire timelines out of fragments and coincidences. It's messy, but that's how digital myth-making works. A rumor starts small, someone repeats it, and before long it's treated like fact. By the time corrections come, the narrative has already hardened in people's minds. Then there's the manhunt. The alleged suspect still hasn't been fully processed through court, and updates are scarce, which only makes people more restless. Every silence feels like a cover-up. Every delay feels intentional. In a world that demands instant information, waiting for real justice feels unbearable. That impatience drives people deeper into speculation, because when official voices go quiet, conspiracy takes the mic. Candace has tapped into that energy perfectly. Whether intentionally or by instinct, she knows that silence creates space for imagination. So she fills that space with dreams, theories, gut feelings, and emotional appeals. She might not have hard evidence, but she has something just as powerful: conviction. And conviction sells. It's why audiences listen even when they claim not to believe. But what makes this story truly hit people is the emotional undertone. Betrayal. Not just the betrayal Candace talks about between Charlie and whoever might have wronged him, but the feeling millions of people share that institutions have betrayed them. They see this case as a symbol of something bigger, power protecting itself, truth getting buried, ordinary people being left in the dark. That's why even the smallest update goes viral. It's not just about Charlie anymore. It's about trust, loss, and the fight to feel informed in a world that constantly misleads. Still, in the middle of all this noise, one thing stands out: grief. It's easy to forget that behind the hashtags, podcasts, and politics, a real person is gone. His friends, family, and supporters are trying to process that, while the internet keeps dissecting every second of his life. It's strange how digital culture can turn mourning into content and tragedy into theory. People feel connected to the story, but sometimes they forget that these are human beings, not characters in an endless series. Candace, for her part, insists she's motivated by compassion, that she just wants the truth to come out. Maybe she truly believes that. Maybe this is her way of coping. Either way, she's shaping the narrative more than anyone else, and that's what keeps her name trending. Each new episode, each emotional confession keeps her followers locked in. Whether they love her or question her, they can't look away. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. Attention is power. Whoever holds the spotlight controls the tone of the story. Candace learned that early, and now she's using it to its fullest. Every time someone calls her dramatic or divisive, it only amplifies her platform. Controversy doesn't destroy influence anymore, it multiplies it. But eventually this story will reach a breaking point. The trial will move forward, the files everyone's fighting over will either stay sealed or come out, and when that happens, the narrative might change again. Maybe some theories will collapse, maybe new ones will rise. But for now, the chaos continues. People stuck between faith and doubt, between wanting justice and craving drama. It's the perfect reflection of the times we're in. Facts are slow, feelings are fast. People don't just want truth, they want meaning. And when reality feels uncertain, stories like this, and with their mystery, betrayal, and emotion, fill that void. So where does it go from here? Probably nowhere calm. The internet doesn't rest, and neither does Candace. The moment one headline fades, another takes its place. The cycle keeps spinning because people need something to believe in, like, even if it's messy, even if it's unclear. And maybe that's why this saga won't end soon, because it's not just a story about one tragedy, it's a mirror showing how a generation processes truth, faith, and fear in real time. And as long as people keep searching for clarity in the chaos, Candace Owens and the story of Charlie Kirk will stay exactly where they are, right in the center of it all, keeping the world watching, wondering, and waiting for the next twist. Everything feels like it's spinning out of control right now. Greenland officially choosing Denmark over the US sent shockwaves through international politics, showing just how fragile America's alliances have become. With the country drowning in debt and facing internal chaos, people are starting to ask, who's really steering the ship? At the same time, outrage is growing over what happened to Renee Good in Minnesota. Her death sparked nationwide anger, especially after reports surfaced that prosecutors wanted to investigate her widow. That crossed a line for many. Some officials even resigned rather than take part, but that only raises another issue. When the good ones walk away, who's left to protect justice? And while political leaders bicker, regular people are struggling, healthcare costs rising, jobs uncertain, and trust in authority nearly gone. Videos of agents acting with excessive force are everywhere, and every new clip deepens the divide between citizens and the system. It's no wonder so many feel powerless. But here's the thing. The real patriots aren't the ones who stay silent. They're the ones who demand better, who speak up when the system goes too far. That's what this moment's about, reclaiming decency in a world that feels upside down. We're living through chaos, but it's also a chance to rebuild what matters. Fairness, truth, compassion, and no matter how dark things get, as long as people keep pushing for accountability, there's still hope for change. If you've been following this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.